It's great to see you for the first deep dive in our series, in which we'll present the award winners of this year's Spring Award season. We hope to offer you valuable insights in design and user research, and of course, about how design teams succeeded in their developing new developments and bringing up new products, concepts, and services in the UX domain. My name is Ake Rudolph. I'm head of the UX Design Awards and head of strategy at International Design Center Berlin. A quick note up front, if you joined us on LinkedIn now, then you can stay on until the presentation and our Q&A right after that. And if you've got questions to our speakers, then just please post them to the event comments. And if you join us on Zoom, you can also join in person and ask questions live. So today it's a great pleasure for me to present two designers who not only succeeded in bringing an award-winning product to market, but they also achieved earning a place at the CEO level for design and informing business decisions. So we're looking forward to hear about that too. But before that, let me briefly introduce the award-winning SaaS product. The jury highlighted Finix Payment Management Dashboard with a product award this year because it enables small businesses to start and scale successfully. How do they do this? Well, they take the burden off staff, they help to prioritize tasks, they help people to gather evidence and make decisions faster, thanks to a clear guideline throughout all tasks and steps. And all of this was achieved through thoughtful user research and, of course, iterations and in-depth discussions. I'd like to introduce our guests today. With us will be Shrankhla Narya. She's the head of product design at Finix Payments Incorporated. Shrankhla is responsible for keeping all design decisions aligned to user research and based the work on a deep understanding of users and the context of the product use. Shrankhla is an engineer. She studied at the Indian Institute of Technology and turned a socially engaged product designer, as she says herself, after finishing her master at University of Texas. And with Shrankhla will be Olivia Ouyang. Olivia is a product designer at Finix. She also shares Shrankhla's background as an engineer, studying in Beijing in China, and doing a master in human communication, human-computer interaction, in Michigan. So Olivia worked in fields such as personal banking, supply chain, and now payment processing. Olivia, it's great to have you here with us, and Shrankhla just as well. So you can turn on your cameras and join our call. So hello, Olivia, there you are. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for the kind intro. It's really nice to have us here.
Right, Shrankhla, hello. It's great that you made it. I heard you had some stress coming into the office today. I'm sorry to hear that, and it's great that you made it.
Thank you. Yeah, just the regular weekly thing, but very happy to be here. Thank you so much for the kind introduction.
It's wonderful to have both of you. So without further ado, please take it away. The screen is yours. Looking forward.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody who's joining us on the live stream. Thank you for having us, and thank you, the UX Design Award jury, for recognizing our work with this award. It's truly an honor to be here and do a deeper dive into the work that we do here at Finix. I just want to start with an introduction of what Finix is. So Finix is an integrated payments platform that empowers all types of businesses, but particularly vertical SaaS companies, marketplaces, and e-commerce platforms to embed payment solutions into their existing platforms. What that means, really simply put, is if you're a business and you need to accept payments or send money in the US or Canada, we can help. Just to clarify that a little bit more, no matter whether you're a software provider for restaurants, let's say like Toast, or you cater to spas like MindBody does, or dental practices process payments, Finix offers solutions that cater to the unique problems and complexities that are involved in processing payments for vertical software companies. This is a really good illustration of where Finix fits in this process that I'm talking about. We really take over the complexity that comes with embedding payment services into that vertical software company's core business. So all they need to focus on is providing an integrated experience, a seamless experience to the merchants that they work with, no matter what industry they operate in. Really, the key takeaway from working at a company like Finix, I've been here about a year and a half, is payments are truly complex. Just the fact that you have to process payments that could come from various different card networks, various different banks, and make sure that they're actually not just processed, but also settled in a timely fashion, and deal with anything that could potentially happen after a payment is settled, like disputes or refunds. All of these things make payments a truly complex problem to solve. What's really cool with how Finix operates in this domain is not only are we working on a really complex problem as it is, we are actually providing payment solutions to software companies that themselves are more. So our job as designers at Finix is to really make this complex problem really, really easy to tackle and work with. That brings me to the next slide, which is just a quick intro of what Olivia and I do here. So the design team at Finix is really, really small and lean, but we like to think that we're a pretty mean team as well. We're small but mighty. I am the head of design and Olivia is a product designer. We're currently hiring a third designer, but it's literally just the two and now the three of us who support 4 product managers, 5 front-end engineers, and 40 back-end engineers, as well as anything that happens with payment operations. So it's a lot of context switching, a lot of complex problem solving, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Just to give you a sense of what it is that we, a really small team of 2 designers, do here at Finix. The coolest thing for me about working at Finix is that designers are truly trusted to make decisions around product. We're actually involved at the very beginning of the product development cycle, and having had startups for years, I can say that that's pretty unique and something that I absolutely enjoy. We're involved in roadmap planning, where we get to bring insights from our customer research, as well as our learnings from shadowing the sales team. We actually help our PMs write exhaustive PRDs, and we do sign off on requirements. Without us signing off on requirements, nothing gets built. We actually work alongside product managers to decide what an acceptable MVP can even look like. We are our own researchers. We don't have a dedicated user research team, so we plan and execute on our own research plans as well as usability testing. And then finally, we support all of our engineers throughout the development cycle, and we do intense QA, sometimes even running code on our local machines, which goes way beyond sort of the visual QA that designers are used to. It is a lot of work. It is quite exciting and fast-paced. But really, at the end of the day, the fact is that payment operations is difficult, and managing those payments is a problem that we really enjoy solving. So our goal really is to make this complex problem easy and make sure that the manual steps that are involved can be taken away, and a lot of tasks can either be automated or be made really simple to understand. So I'll just leave you with this thought. We crafted the vision for simple and intuitive user experience, simple and intuitive user experiences. And with that, I'll hand it over to Olivia, who will do a much deeper dive into a couple of features that we've built recently here at Finix.
Thank you, Shrankhla. So just as Shrankhla just mentioned, payment operations are difficult. So let me show you how exactly that is. So first of all, the complexity lives in the granularity of all of the tests. So this is a daunting list, but what payment operation actually will do is not limited just this list. These are just some of the critical things. And more challenging add to that is the tool they actually use. So a lot of payment operation team, they still relies on a lot of legacy tools, and oftentimes those data live in so many different places because they are using different financial services. And also, I will pretty confident to say most of the payment operation people, they are the master of Excel because they need to just consolidate data from everywhere. And when things didn't really work, they just need to do the math themselves. So ended up, we're competed with Excel for a lot of times. And so for our core user is the true heroes behind all of the challenges. So they are the payment operation teams. So varies by different company size and the structure and scale. They could be a really well set of departments defined by finance, accounting, support, and so on. They also could be a really, really tiny team. So team of 3, 4 people, and they need to cover every single thing across the entire life cycle for the payment. So no matter how vary of the size of it, it's really hard and difficult because they need to make sure all of the payments and information they provided to answer other people's question should be accurate to send. So ultimately, all of the goal is, okay, to answer the question, where did the money go? And of course, it's not only just challenging for our user, because we as a design team, we need to understand their struggle in order to help them. So we do intensive user research, starting from shadowing our internal expert just to get a hand of what is the process for to work with payment operation, and do later on move to external customer interviews and get more intensive feedback from usability testing and so on. So that's how we find out the top biggest 3 pain points across of most of the workflows we have been designing. First of all, is a lot of heavy context switching because the nature of so many tools get involved that in one single workflow, they just have to leveraging so many tabs maybe in their browser. Second is the really poor data discoverability because there's no single source of truth that holds everything. So they need to really remember where to find things. And next time they come back, they need to remember that kind of loop again, which is very challenging. And lastly, constantly information overload. Just it's not hard to imagine because of the first 2 challenges. There's so many things they are dealing with constantly. So oftentimes overloaded. And in the further 3 use case, we will further dive into how we tackle the 3 pain points. But for now, overall, the overarching problem statement here is really trying to helping these payment operation people to efficiently streamline their workflows. So by which, how do they do that is by really help them prioritize the most important thing to do and help them to make quick but really informed and confident decisions. So to make sure we know exactly where that money goes. And for us, the design strategy is really always starting from fixing the usability issues. So we need to make sure things work properly before adding further on user delights. So what that means is we wanted to simplify as much as possible to to save time, to optimize their workflow on the operation on a daily basis. And on top of that, if possible, we want to make that experience really delightful, and even so, maybe help them to do more strategizing work so that they can continue adding business value to think about how they can grow their business furthermore. So without further ado, let's actually dive into use case. So remember this daunting list I just showed you early on. And even before a merchant or any business start up and running, so they need to submit the application to us. And we really need to carefully review everything to make sure they are a legit business before they can actually hop on our platform and then processing payment. So this whole process, we call it underwriting. And this is a use case where our Finix, so we provide the services on behalf of the software companies to underwrite their newly onboarded merchant, so to before to get them to use our payment services. And this is a dashboard where our internal underwriter of Finix will actually look through the application submitted by the merchants. And they need to review everything and then make a final decision to say if this merchant should be approved or not. And this is a perfect example for me to tell you how exactly we're solving the heavy context switching in this case. Before that, actually, I want to introduce where exactly is the heavy context switching happens. So this is where all of the merchant application will come in. They will have, for instance, like this is a new dental practices come in. The business owner submitted everything, and then Finix Payment Operation team will receive it in our system. So what they will do is to take line by line to look at the business owner's information, the business identity, their bank account, and then they copy paste a lot of these info going to external vendors like Gayak or Persona, where they will generate the reports, and then they took the report back and do a side-by-side comparison where also they need to take notes along the way to make sure they capture their small decision every single time. And later, they also will do a lot of online searching. They all have, each of them have their own hack. Some of them are searching for Google search. Some of them are using the kind of console trick to look for IP, and also some of the map and Google Map to say, is this a business address or not? So you can see there's a intensive evidence gathering outside of the system, and there are a lot of back and forth cross-reference comparison happening, and then all of that need to land on one single decision. So that explains why it took so long. And oftentimes we heard about our customer, which is the software companies, complain about, hey, it takes so long. Why can't you just do it quickly? Like it takes literally 2 weeks or something, because it is a hard job, and then we want to be comprehensive to make a cautious decision. So that's basically where all of the heavy context switching is happening. And it's also pretty error prone, because when you're switching back and forth, you need to remember where are you looking at last time and what my eye should fall into next. And it's really hard to scale next. For saying someone needs someone else to escalate this case to a higher manager to review it, then there's a lot of duplicate work introduced, because the other person will have no idea how the investigation had been done. So what we did here is to think about how can we minimize that switching as much as possible. And on a high level, what we did is to use the grouping concept. So if you are looking at a specific business type of identity info, then we want to pull in that relevant report just right next to it, and then guide your eyes with the visual cues to tell you if this is a warning or not. Should you expand it more to dive into it and make the final decision much more easier to see everything in a group in context. So this is our final solution where our payment operation manager, they come in here, they can look through all of the detailed information. For instance, they're curious why this business owner have a warning sign of the adverse media screening. So they were able to open it up to dive into exactly what is the match and warning information they need to be careful about. And nextly, let's talk about actually after the merchants get started running their business. So these are a lot of things actually to cover, no matter is the day-to-day normal transactions or when things goes wrong, like a dispute happen or refund, so on. So the main issue here is actually really report data discoverability. And why is that? Is because a payment has so many different status. And other than that, So we want to understand what is the current status, and also we need to know what is before and after, along with so many other things to really truly get the full picture. With that said, we actually want to understand how exactly fragmented they are. We do user journey mapping across all the different roles, because a lot of different workflows, they all come into digging into this granular level of the payment data. So instead of really following one single sequence of the workflow, we care more about where actually they go to more and what is the most important thing they often look at, and really trying to think about optimizing the display of the payment data. And challenges here is to create really a scalable and efficient solution of the navigation system. So it support all type of various different workflows, and people can come here, find the things they can get out of it, and also remember how to return next time. And really key thing here I wanted to call out is simple does not mean just less content, because we hear a lot about less is more, but truly in practice, it is only true where it pairs with the clarity. So what I mean is during our design exploration, we didn't really cut any information out of the initial payment data, because out of the complexity nature, the team just really need that much data in order to understand the payment truly. So what we did here is to play around the visual patterns to see which one actually worked the best to help user to form a habit, so that their brain does not spend that much time when they see the similar patterns across the different life cycle, to quickly identify who gets the money, where's the money goes, and how can I navigate back and forth in the same thread. And this is our solution. It is really scannable payment details on every single page header for the payments. And it works across all of the life cycle, from payments, authorization, and settlements. And it has a consistent visual patterns across all of the life cycle. So your eyes will know where to go no matter where you started in any point. And next, I will hand it over back to Shrankhla to talk about our cool insight feature.
Cool. Thank you, Olivia. So Olivia showed us how we design for back office users, especially payment operations managers, to basically perform day-to-day complex and repetitive tasks with ease. Outside of these tasks that involve very granular information, our users also need to be able to zone out and identify problems and irregularities at a high level. For instance, as a payment operations manager or a member of a finance team, you will likely need to be able to get a snapshot of how your payments are performing over time and identify any deviations from standard patterns really quickly. To support that, the Finix dashboard provides what we call insights and metrics, which are really robust information about the life cycle of payments and any irregularities. As someone leading the design team at Finix, I'm actually quite fond of this feature personally, because the designers really emerged as thought leaders and product visionaries with this feature. Our overall vision was to design a scalable and customizable insight solution that can help customers understand their payments business at a glance, and like I said, identify when things go wrong so they can act on them. What we also wanted to make sure was that we can design this feature in a way that it scales really efficient from that point on. So after an initial really good upfront investment in this feature, our goal was that when we wanted to scale it, it would be really fast and would only need a few hours of engineering time to build and provide more insights down the road. The question is, how do we get there? So the general structure that we followed with this insights feature is, once you land into the Finix product or the Finix dashboard, the homepage itself gives you a summary of your business performance over time. And then we built on that structure by creating internal pages. And these internal pages give you granular information into different parts of the payment business. So for instance, there are internal pages that give you insight just about transactions or refunds or authorizations or settlements itself. So this is the general structure. The homepage is a quick snapshot of your business, and then internal pages like the one highlighted on the screen give you information about specific parts of the payment lifecycle. Like I said, this was also built to scale. So here's an example for insights specific to the underwriting piece that Olivia was originally talking about. On top of that, within a matter of days, we were able to add another set of insights called insights related to just your merchants. And then on top of that, we could further scale it to provide additional insights just related to your exceptions, which is basically disputes or returns that are happening. So this goes back to the point that designers truly get involved in the product development process early on and have to go in thinking about the overall picture and how long it would take to scale something. The other thing that we did with this solution was truly make it customizable. Payments is complex and all of our different customers operate in different industries. So the way they would use insights is probably going to look quite different. We wanted to make sure that they could customize these insights to their own use cases. So one thing that we did across all of these insights pages is have a filterable time frame. There are some defaults that we provide based on thorough user research, but they could also set any timeline that they wanted. When we further scroll down on any of these insights pages, the next thing that is a repetitive pattern is just 4 cards that give you a quick summary relevant to that particular page. So on the home page, it's about your overall transactions, but on internal pages, it would be specific to that page. The next thing that every insights page has is trends over time specific to the metric that you're looking at. Fully interactive, you can filter information in and out as needed, hover to see exact numbers, and this turned out to be something that our customers actually really enjoyed. And then finally, every insights page had really granular information at the bottom of that page. So as a finance team member, you could come in and get a good sense of how your business is performing over time. But as a payment operations manager, if you see that something is not as it was predicted to be, you might want to dig deeper. And these tables at the end of these insights pages actually can tell you exactly which merchant maybe is not performing well, or maybe a certain dispute happened and it was worth thousands of dollars, and that is something that you hadn't really prepared for. So these tables further help you get the information that you want. So the result of all of the 3 features that we talked about, and in general, the work that Olivia and I do here, is that this payments product that we're designing and continuing to build upon really helps in task prioritization. So you can really identify what it is that you should be focusing on. Evidence gathering, to Olivia's point where she showed underwriting, you can really gather a ton of evidence on a single page, never have to leave the dashboard itself. And we expedite decision-making through things like insights. I thoroughly enjoy working at a fast-paced startup. I know Olivia feels the same way. And that's everything that we wanted to share today. And I'll stop here and see if there are any questions from the audience.
Is it correct to say that it evolved in a way organically with a growing demand on the market?
100%. It grew quite a bit and it continues to grow based on the demand that we see from our prospects as well as existing customers. We do place equal importance on both of them. So to give you an example, everything that we've talked about so far and everything that we submitted for this award was only a few months before. Since then itself, we've now started to offer a suite of low-code, no-code features that are specifically tailored towards the end merchant or seller for them to be able to directly take payments using things like checkout pages, hosted checkout pages, or payment links directly from the end buyer. So the use cases continue to evolve, and based on how those evolve, we continue to add more and more features and essentially more complexity.
Wow, fascinating. It sounds like a complex journey. I fully understand why you're hiring. So that's great to hear also that there is new design jobs coming up, especially in these times. Can you share a little bit about the duration of Finix? I know it's difficult maybe to say because it was an evolving product, but let's say that until you started to work on from the beginning to where you are now at the product that you submitted. Is there a way to frame it time-wise?
Everything that we submitted and everything that we shared today is work that we've done on the dashboard within the past 1 year. So a lot of improvements, a lot of new features have been built within the past 1 year. One thing to call out is that pretty much every year we do something that we call a usability refresh. And that is really a great opportunity for the design team and the product managers to sort of stop thinking about features for a little bit and just thinking about improving the quality of life of our consumers and improving the usability of the product. So a lot of things that Olivia shared specifically regarding the consistent navigation pattern and the idea behind the consistent patterns that we followed with insights was a result of one of the usability refreshes that we did just about a year ago. And all the outcome of that was what you saw today.
Right, so the juries really underline that Finix excels when it comes to streamlining decision paths and expediting decision making. And I guess this is apart from what Olivia shared about not taking away information, but adding clarity to the vast amount of information. I guess this is also a big task in terms of information architecture, so in structuring information. So which is maybe not a core design task, but it's really the basis to form user experience patterns upon. So I'm wondering, which design decisions were key? What were the biggest maybe steps that you created in terms of creating a clearer information flow for users?
I'll talk about the process a little bit, and then I'll pass it on to Olivia to also dive into the specifics. So just at a high level, one thing that I had mentioned we do as product designers here is also a ton of user research. And I would say we're lucky in a way because every startup that I've worked at previously, we had to really struggle to even book time with customers. We're kind of lucky here that we work very closely with the sales team as well as the customer success team. And we often just raid the stand-ups that they have with existing customers. We'll show up, we'll take 30 minutes of their time and do either usability tests ad hoc or do cart sorting. All of that really helps us just have a very good sense of the information architecture patterns that are currently working well and things that are not working well. Because we move really fast and because we add new features really fast, I think it's fair to assume that we don't always think about what it does to the information architecture as it exists today. So jumping into these user research calls and getting into the rigor of doing them regularly means that we, at least, Olivia and I, have a pretty long list of all the changes that we would want to make to the information architecture. So that's a giant backlog just related to that we would love to get to at some point, but we do try to make that work as we go. Some of the things that we've identified over time, when Olivia was talking about the consistent navigation pattern that you see irrespective of what stage the payment is in, the data, for instance, that's really, really critical to the payment itself is the amount, the type of card that was used, the last 4 digits of the card, the buyer, which is all critical to the payment itself. So that goes on in the header. But to give you an example, the other pieces of information that we found out through user research were really important is, okay, if this is the buyer, who is the merchant who's actually running the transaction? And whoever is the merchant, what is the actual software provider that caters to this merchant? So Olivia likes to use the word breadcrumb for this. It's basically you leave behind breadcrumbs to go gather, and then you eventually get to every single data point that you want. So the way we made sure that without removing any information, we can show it in a consistent pattern is the navigation to get to your buyer and then to your merchant and then top level to the actual software provider is all at the very top. And then the numbers related to the payment itself are at the bottom. And that, for example, is a consistent pattern across the product. Anything else you would add to that, Olivia?
I would say is a lot to go into how we generally approach research here because it's just 2 of us. So in general, it's like everyone in the company in different roles, when they have problem or wish list items, they come to us directly. So I found myself doing a lot of those kind of consulting work where like, tell me, why do you want this? And okay, I understand your struggle with this, but can you show me how exactly you're doing it now? So it's a lot about observing and then prepping the users or whoever wanted something to show me what exactly they're looking at, and we designer get to interpret it and kind of consolidate later on to see what is the most important critical pieces in this entire workflow. So really the key essence of it is just don't do whatever people ask for you to do, because people really don't really understand what they're asking for most of the time. And one of the things I really emphasize with our really beloved payment operation internal team is that they have been basically used to the really legacy workflow for so long. So literally every single thing that we show, no matter what stage of the iteration design I show them, they're all think is good, which is not really constructive feedback. So I have to take extra effort to dig into what exactly they're looking for, and that all of that fall into going to the hierarchy in terms of the information architecture. Because every single time we're adding a new thing, adding a new tab, adding one element, it's just all of the things that will prompt us to think again, okay, is that gonna break? Or we don't have time now, okay, when do we need to do that? What is the runway we have until this thing completely does not work? So we just have those kind of bomb in our head just to say like, we need to think about it sometime. And we actually have been keep thinking about it. So it's hard for us to really tell you exactly how that works without the actual use case, but yeah, you get, I hope you get a kind of a taste of it.
Well, a taste, definitely. It sounds like you have an enormous Figma board or Miro board of ideas and sketches and organograms
It lives
apart
in
from the
all
backlog in
different
mind.
meeting rooms, you know.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit more about the research methods that you use? Because you mentioned qualitative interviews, I guess. What else? Because we have people, you know, working in your field, in your position, and maybe also in similarly small or bigger teams, and that's pretty interesting. Maybe along a use case, if you're talking about introducing, well, first of all, understanding about what people actually want, although they say everything is fine just because they're used to it, to you know, iterating through maybe a new feature or element.
Yeah, so let's take the insights feature that we were talking about as an example. It's a great example because it's sort of touched upon all the features that we built in the past and we needed to figure out what are the most critical pieces that people would want to see, let's say on a home page or an internal page. So like you mentioned, qualitative analysis and research is definitely really huge for us. Thankfully, it's not very time consuming because we don't have to deal with the most time consuming aspect of it, which is scheduling and rescheduling and sending out emails. All of the communication is handled by other teams and we just jump in. So that's something that we rely very heavily on. We also partner with our customer facing teams quite heavily. A lot of times they end up being the proxy for the user voice, because the reality is that Olivia and I can only do customer research with maybe 5, 6, or 10 customers at most when we're talking about one feature. But our customer success team, our support team, and our sales teams, they have been doing this for years. They are experts in the payments domain. So the information that they bring to the table often ends up being a very good proxy for what our customers might be asking for. So that's the qualitative research aspect of it. For insights, we did a ton of interviews with customers. We would literally go into meetings, do cart sorting exercises with them, ask them to help us prioritize what they would want to see on a homepage versus something that they could live with, maybe 2 or 3 layers deeper. We also have analytics tools running in the background. So something like Amplitude constantly tracks where our users are going, and that gives us rich quantitative data. Just time on task, how many steps it takes to get to the particular result that we were hoping the user would get to. All of that is constantly being tracked. I wouldn't say we're the best at looking at it and analyzing it on a regular basis, and that's something that I would love to do once a third designer joins us. So that's the quantitative piece. And then the final thing that I'll mention is outside of the traditional usability testing that maybe a lot of designers and students are used to, let's say on usabilitytesting.com, we actually really prefer making sure that every time we build a large feature like Insights, we first do internal testing with it. So something like that would first be released internally to Finix employees, and we would play with it for a week in production itself. And that gives us very rich data, not just about bugs and stuff, but also information architecture, as we were previously talking about. A lot of times, even beyond that, we will actually do a pilot release with 1 or 2 customers who have come to trust us over time and who are always willing to be guinea pigs. And that gives us additional information that we would not be able to get if we didn't do a pilot release and just went to market. So it's stuff like that, in addition to the quantitative and qualitative data, that makes sure that big features like Insights or the low-code, no-code features that are coming up are sort of battle tested.
Oh, thanks for sharing. I love this element about internal testing and not just looking for bugs, but actually having your engineers jump into the role of users, because it opens a lot of eyes also to problems and solutions as well, doesn't it? So do you have any processes in place where maybe of collaboration regularly with people in other roles, and which roles are they?
Yeah, so I like to call Olivia my expert on internal collaboration. She runs a ton of meetings with sales teams. She basically runs a recurring meeting. 1 week, it would be with the sales team that works with the software vendors. 1 week, she'll run the same meeting with marketplace sales teams. 1 week, she'll run the same meeting with customer success teams. So it's a rotating meeting, and she has these giant lists of requests that come from each of these teams, as well as pain points that come up over time. In addition to that, just to ensure that quality is met after we've built something, I was mentioning this earlier, it's kind of non-traditional for designers to pull a PR on their local machine and run it, but we really like to do it because it means that even after the tests that our front-end engineers have run, Olivia and I can go in and not just do visual QA, but also test functionality, look for bugs. And after that, we actually do pilot it internally. So there are a ton of steps that happen in the process, from us handing off and the engineers building something to it actually getting to mass market. Anything else you would add to that, Olivia?
I think I would just add the recurring meetings that we host is not just getting all of the request feedback. Of course, we also have our internal cross-company Slack channels called Dashboard Feedback, where people would just like post it wherever they found weird or uncomfortable or question mark and anything, so that we will kind of guide our eyes to there whenever there are people raise question. And also we have something really cool called demo day. It's something like we have it quarterly and sometimes like 6 months or something, just to go through all of the big releases features that we have to the entire company. And we sometimes will set up those like challenges, because they are all fresh eyes, and we just let them know like, oh, if you are this particular role and you need to do this, how are you going to do that? It's a race, and whoever got the first will get a reward or something. So it's kind of really good to stress test people in a fun way, because in the real life cases, actually when the payment operation gets the question of where is my money goes, it's actually someone's really anxious on the other end and trying to figure out that, right? So it will be a really stressful situation. So we did a lot of that. And I think throughout the time we working with all of the different stakeholders is really trying to help them understand how design work. And so that they will willing to give us more patience. I'm really grateful for that, to take more time for research, and also allowed us to ask them more questions whenever we wanted to dive deep into a certain domain in their expertise. So it's kind of really truly a two-way collaboration, not just we all also let them know how we can help them, and at the same time we will ask for help whenever we need. Yeah, I would just want to add that.
And it probably helps that you both have a background in engineering, so you know exactly what you're talking about when you talk to engineers, and can probably also talk solutions with them pretty quickly. Actually, there is a question from our audience. So I'd like to add on this and a bit open up apart from user research. Krishna Kamur Gopal asked about from user research, how essential was it to invest time and effort on UX research? Similar, but also going then into also the visual element. Can you comment on this a little bit?
Yeah. I think one thing that was top of mind, even when I was thinking about the structure of the design team itself, was we knew that we would primarily look for designers that were really, really good at the UX design side of things and had really good UI design skills. But if it was lacking in some ways, we would be okay with that. And that's something that we also follow with our product itself. So if we really try to break down the entire design process into really, really stringent compartments like user research, UX design, and UI design, which I don't think makes too much sense anymore, but let's say we do that. UX design is definitely something that we put a lot more emphasis on. The reality is that our users are back office people. They deal with a lot of complex tools every day, and they deal with a lot of software that was designed for B2B use cases. And traditionally, those were software that was just not pretty or visually appealing or delightful in any way. So we know that the task at hand, solving it successfully, is really what our users are constantly aiming for. And that's also our aim, which just makes UX design more critical than anything else. So something that Olivia and I don't heavily invest in right now is things like interaction design or animation. It's not a skill set that our team has, and I'm happy to admit that. It's also not something that we're looking for at the moment. We just want to make sure that the designers that join our team and the features that we design are thoroughly well thought out. So we will think about the user journey. We'll think about every single edge case, because there are so many edge cases that come up, and really pay a lot of emphasis on UX design. So yeah, that's the most critical piece for us.
Yeah,
So
I think
this is the moment. Sorry, Olivia, go ahead.
Oh, one thing I had to add here is some of the things I like to do a lot is in the early phases, I will show my really sketchy solution where also give them a moonshot idea. So that's the time I play around with interaction and really crazy thing. I know for sure we're not gonna do it now because I know how much effort goes into for engineer to fully have that cool whatever visual come in, but that gets people excited. And also I can see our engineering team, they got more and more having a higher bar in terms of what that visual will be, and because they're proud of their work as we show them higher quality of the design. So that's also another thing I think, not just within the design team, but it's across kind of board investment.
Right. I was about to say, you said that you're hiring. So if you want to share who you're looking for, maybe that will help your hiring process. So now it's your 2 minutes of
my pitch.
Yes, go ahead.
That's fair. Yeah. The type of designers that we're looking for are very similar to Olivia. I think Olivia has been the greatest gift to the design team. So we're essentially looking for people who can sort of take a high-level approach to complex problems. Generally, designers who thrive in complex problem spaces and don't mind moving really fast. That's really the persona that would excel here at Finix. We are an in-office culture, so we come into the San Francisco office 4 days a week. It's sort of non-negotiable. And at this point, I've honestly come to really love it because it's just a matter of tapping the engineer on the shoulder or the sales executive and just getting our questions answered really, really fast. So that is just one logistical thing that I'll mention here. UX design, like I said, is a skill set that's also non-negotiable. If the UI designs are lacking a little bit, I like to believe that that's teachable, and that's something that you can learn on the job, and it's an evolution that will happen over time anyway. Research and UX design is something that you would want to have even when you come in. Payments is complex. It took me 6-7 months to even understand the basics. It took Olivia also quite a bit of time, so prior payments experience is just not something that we necessarily ask for, but if you have it, that's fantastic.
So you heard it. If you're looking for a job on the West Coast, go ahead and reach out to Shrankhla. I was just going to finish up with a question which is a bit more bigger, because you mentioned, I mean, you're just a team of two and you succeeded in really informing all roles in your company. Of course, you're a startup, but still, it's a pretty complex use case and a very complex environment that you're working in. So I'm wondering what made yeah, your voice, the voice of UX designers, be heard also on a top management level, and how can designers replicate this? What are the skills, but maybe also what helped you?
That's a great question. I will say that that wasn't always the case at Finix. Design is a relatively new function, so you can imagine that it wasn't like everybody at Finix understood the value of design and the idea that designers should get a seat at the table and their voice should be heard. Honestly, it was just a ton of show and tell repeatedly over time. So for instance, Olivia was talking about demo days. That was something that originally engineers were doing. They would just walk over to the podium, demo the feature that they had built, and ask the entire company to play around with it. Designers slowly started getting involved in it. And one of the first things that we changed in that process was, instead of just showing them what we built, we would go in, and Olivia was talking about setting the vision and showing her pie in the sky idea. I encouraged her, and we did this over time, where we would go into these demo days and actually show people what our eventual vision or North Star is, even if it sounds absurd and unattainable right now. And that started to get people really excited, and they started believing that designers are actually thinking about long-term goals. They're thinking about scale and not just the MVP. So that is one of the things that I think just showing and telling over time really helped us. When I first joined, the CEO asked me to just be like, hey, Shrankhla, can you go into one of our all hands and just talk about what product design is? Because I don't think I fully understand it. So we spent quite a bit of time just thinking about how to craft that narrative for an audience that's a mix of engineers, product managers, and operations people. And our goal for that all hands presentation was to make sure that people understand that designers don't just make things look pretty. We are problem solvers at heart. And I think that message really landed. And 1 year later now, people often volunteer us instead of product managers to be like, hey, Olivia, can you sit down with my team for a week and just shadow them do this one task over time? So you can then tell me how we can solve it through technology. So again, just showing people and talking to them has been really helpful. As a result of these first few steps that we took, I now am in a position where no feature is signed off unless I say yes to it. No API spec is approved unless I approve it, which is not necessarily something I wanted to sign up for, but that's just, I think it comes with the territory. So people do trust us quite a bit right now. And I think it's really on us to make sure that we never disappoint them and continue to keep the quality really high.
Fascinating. And of course, presenting a North Star vision is something often visual as well, so people can make up their minds, and it helps them to focus on something, and then also to become engaged emotionally even, and trying to achieve this goal. And of course, your job, as you mentioned, is then to break it down to a roadmap and make it happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. And it takes stamina and will, and to work through the process, but also to work on your storytelling. I think that's also a key word, to go beyond the, let's say, bullshit bingo, excuse my language, but what is UX? What is this role? And what is the work involved in it? What means product design? Many people won't understand it because they have a certain, or maybe an other perspective on it. As you said, this is just the visual part. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, just a parting thought. I think you make a great point. Designers are just storytellers at heart. And I think the more we can remind everybody of that, the better it is for designers. So even though I did say that we don't really focus on things like interaction design and animation, when we do focus on it, it's primarily on these presentations that we do, whether it's teaching the company about product design or doing demo days. We actually spend a lot of time crafting that story and making sure that it's exciting, fun, delightful, and actually lands. And I think that's something that we absolutely spend quite a bit of time on.
Last question. I'm wondering, did the award help you in your storytelling in the company?
It did. It's been a very interesting year for us. This is the third award we've won, and it definitely has helped everybody understand just how critical our work is and how high quality it is. So yes, thank you. It has been super, super helpful.
Well, I'm so happy to hear this because this is why we do this. So congratulations to both of you for our job really well done, and above all on scaling and continuing the work on Finix and building your team and building on the success you already achieved. So it's been wonderful to have you, and thanks so much for sharing these valuable insights and really a great presentation as well, as clear as the Finix product. So we really hope to see you again.
Thank you so much for having us. We hope to see you too. Bye.
So thanks to everyone. This is unfortunately the end again, but please reach out to Shrankhla and Olivia on LinkedIn if you want to follow up on some questions. They'll be happy to share, I guess. If you miss anything, our recording will be online, available right away on LinkedIn and or on our website as well. And of course, I'm inviting you to join our next events. And actually, in exactly 1 week, you can hear from our chair of the jury of the upcoming awards, June Mo Lee from Finix Design, will be talking about the role of designers and actually also about what designers are supposed to do in their job and what all of this responsibility involves. So, of course, as well, if you're working on great products, please jump to our website, have a look at the UX Design Awards, and maybe think about submitting one of your products or services. And we would be very happy to present one of your winning products in about half a year's time. So until next time, have a wonderful morning over at the West Coast, evening or afternoon, wherever you are across the world, and hopefully see you soon again. Bye-bye.